Motivation Monday, by the way. So every Monday morning, I'm going to be hitting you with some, hi Tracy, going to be hitting you with some motivational tips. Today is talking about creating habits, and there's a fun little technique. Instead of hitting habits whole hog, cutting everything out or adding everything in and doing it for 21 days straight, sometimes that can seem overwhelming. So today we're going to talk about this technique called tiny habits. First, though, I want to talk to you about just some of the things that go into making habits stick. So talking about motivation, I think we all have experienced that motivation and our drive for motivation can go up and down, whether it's by the minute, by the day, by the hour, by the month. If you look at the course of your last year, when it comes to your health and fitness, or maybe your financial goals or your spiritual goals or your house cleaning goals, whatever it is, some days we're highly motivated to achieve those things and other days we're not. So just by simply recognizing that that motivation can go up and down, we can create some habits or techniques to kind of combat those days when motivation is down. That's what a habit is all about. If you create a habit, and it becomes habitual or instinctual or automatic, then the motivation part of it doesn't play quite as big a role. And one thing about creating habits is keeping them as simple as possible is always best. The more complicated the new behavior or new habit, the harder it's going to be to achieve it, because it just seems like that's just way too hard today, especially on a crazy busy day or a day where your motivation is in a slump. So also another thing to play into that is emotions. So emotions do take a big role when it comes to creating habits. If you feel good about what you're doing, hello, oh, that's Christine, that's my sister. I think that's my sister. Is that you, Christine? You should make me a little message here. You could teach this to your kids, actually. This would be kind of a fun thing to do with the kids at school. Emotions do play a big role. If you feel good about what you're doing, then you'll do it again. Oh, awesome. It's my sister. She's in the house. So then you will most likely do it again. If your brain likes what you have achieved, then your brain will want to do it again. And eventually it will be, oh, I'm sitting in the car. Okay, thanks. I'm not driving sideways like this. I'm in the car because I'm waiting at the chiropractic office, and I thought I would make the most of my time on Motivation Monday. Thanks for asking. So that will ensure this will be a fairly short broadcast because my appointment's in about 15 minutes. So, excuse me, got a little something in there today. So, regarding emotions and habits, so it is shown that the speed at which you create a habit and a habit becomes automatic is directly related to the immediacy and the intention of the emotions that you attach to it. So that means what I always tell my clients is come up with an emotional reason why you want to create this habit, why you want to start something new. Sometimes it might be maybe you have lost a family member to cancer and you let that be your driving force. Maybe it's because, we're talking health fitness, of course. So maybe it's because you want to be able to hang in there with your kids as they get older. That's a good emotional reason. Maybe you want to encourage your spouse. Those are all kind of intrinsic reasons, things that come from within you. There might also be extrinsic reasons, such as, your doctor said you have to get healthy. Your boss said you need to lose weight. Not that he's really allowed to do that, but maybe there's, you have a very physical job and you feel like you can't keep up. That's an extrinsic motivator. So finding a motivator, I think, is number one priority when it comes to creating a habit. What is the big reason that you want to do this? How are you going to feel about this habit now, in the middle of creating the habit, and after that habit becomes completely automatic? So let's talk about this method. It's called Tiny Habits. It's by a man named J.B. Fogg. If you want to look him up, his technique, I believe he actually teaches courses on this, but it's a very simple technique. You don't have to go to college to learn how to do it. Excuse me. So sorry. First of all, we got to figure out what is the habits you want to create. And if you want to post some habits, I'd love to hear what your habits are that you want to create. You want to take that habit and you want to scale it back to its simplest form. So let's say it is push-ups. Let's say I want to learn to do push-ups, and right now I can barely do a push-up. So let's scale that back to its simplest form, is just take it to one push-up. Okay. So first of all, we've picked our habit. and we're scaling it back, smallest form. Anybody want to post a habit? Because I would love to hear what your habits are. Tracy and Christine, what are your habits going to be? So be thinking about that as we go through this, and I want to see habits by the time it's done, because I'm going to challenge you at the end to get a habit. So first 2 steps already done. First step is find a habit that you want to create and find a reason why with that habit. I'm going to put those into 1 step. Second step is make that habit as small as possible. And the third step is you need to pick that behavior, that push-up that we're talking about, before or after an existing routine. It's probably best to put it after an existing routine. Things like that might be taking a shower, getting up in the morning, going to bed at night, brushing your teeth. Those are things that most of us hopefully do consistently every single day. It may not be, maybe if you have a lunchtime, a job that has an actual lunch hour, that might be your time to do the habit. So that is a big thing. We're going to call that your cue or your trigger. And that is the thing that's going to remind you that, I'm doing a thing. I'm doing a new habit. So number 1, find a habit. Find a reason why. Number 2, make it as small as possible. And number 3, find a trigger or a cue to put that behavior after. So I'm going to pick for my little push-up challenge or my push-up habit creation. I'm going to pick before bed. I go to bed every night. Simple as pie. So every night I'm going to do the teeniest little thing. I'm going to do 1 push-up every night before I go to bed. And now I know that seems ridiculous. I think that this man, BJ Fogg, he chose flossing his teeth. He wanted to become regular at flossing his teeth. So he chose to floss 1 tooth every time after he brushed his teeth, which seems silly. And that's kind of the point of this habit. It seems almost silly to do 1 push-up. Well, while I'm here, I might as well do 2 push-ups. So while I'm flossing 1 tooth, I might as well floss 2 or 3. So that's how he kind of created this thing, was over flossing teeth. And he did find it silly, but it worked for him. Now the 4th part, this is the brain part, and this is the part that will make that habit stick and become automatic. The last piece is that you have to create something as an instant celebration for completing that habit. So whether that be, fist bumping yourself or a booyah, or what is that? That's a fist pump, not a fist bump. Patting yourself on the back, maybe a little happy dance, whatever it is, that's a little celebration. But you have to, in our house, when we have a little celebration, the kids yell, "Opa!" And they yell it at very precarious times too. So that's our little sound. Sometimes when they finish a book, they slap it shut and yell, "Opa!" So that is their little celebration. And what happens in the brain is that your brain starts to feel this sense of celebration every time I do this habit. So it's evening, I'm doing my push-up right before bed, little celebration. My brain just says, I like that. Okay, so the next time I do it again and again and again. Because as we said before, your brain will want to do what it finds to be, when your brain is happy about something, then your brain will want to do it again. So I know that seems so simple, but the reward factor is a huge piece of all this. Not just in the tiny habits, but in the larger habits too, is that we have to remember to celebrate our rewards, because really in the end, what is the point? We're going to have to, we're going to get to that point where we just think, well, this is getting kind of boring. But our brain has receptors in the brain that actually receive these chemicals when we give ourselves this reward. And they're dopamine and serotonin. These are chemicals that are the pleasure centers of the brain. So that's what this whole tiny habits thing was created around, was this little reward center and what actually happens in the brain. It's not just about picking the trigger. The trigger is to get you to do the habit on a regular basis. So just a quick recap. You're going to pick a behavior. You're going to add an emotional reason why you want to do that behavior. You're going to make it as small as possible to make it as simple as possible. You're going to put that behavior after an existing routine, something that happens every day without a doubt. And then you're going to create an instant celebration. So